This is Mac OS Ken.
iPhone shipments buck a trend in China, Mac shipments buck a trend in PCs, and Apple Maps finds a friend in Ford. It is Friday, the 24th of July, 2026. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Copilot Money. Your money beautifully organized. Get 2 months free with offer code MacOSKen at copilot.money/MacOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Though smartphone shipments were down in China last quarter, Apple kinda crushed it. That is the word from Counterpoint Research. In one of 3 posts posted earlier this week, the market tracker had smartphone shipments in China dropping 2% in the June quarter versus the same quarter a year ago. Meanwhile, iPhone was like a rocket, with shipments up 23% versus the same quarter a year earlier. Stellar performance, though not over the top. If that was an award, Huawei would have to claim it. That firm's shipments were up 24% year on year. Fueling iPhone's growth, current and future pricing. According to Counterpoint, iPhone's relatively stable pricing became increasingly attractive as Android prices were driven up. While the iPhone 17 line does remain popular, Counterpoint thinks at least some of that popularity was supported by consumer expectations of higher iPhone prices this quarter, with some buying before increases hit. As for the wider decline, it feels almost insulting to tell you at this point. Counterpoint says soaring memory costs prompted smartphone OEMs to adopt more conservative production plans and shift their focus to profitability rather than shipment growth. Running through the June Q's China smartphone rankings, Huawei was tops with a 23% share of shipments, Apple was second with 18%, Oppo and Vivo were tied for third or fourth with 16% each, Xiaomi was next with 13%, Honor rounded out the named list with 11% of shipments, and the gray mass of others accounted for 3%. I guess we finally have to start taking folding smartphones seriously. In the second of 3 posts from Counterpoint Research, the firms had a look at the near future of foldables. According to the piece, shipments of those are expected to grow 21% this year versus last. Those will be boosted by Apple's anticipated entry into foldables, with the Cupertino company stealing share from everybody. By Counterpoint's expected count, first place Samsung will go from a 40% share of shipments last year to 32% this year. Second place Huawei will go from 30% to 24%. Third place Motorola will move from 12% to 8%. Fourth place Honor will go from 7% to 3%. And the gray mass of others will drop from 11% of shipments to 8%. When Apple horns in, it will show up in second place in Counterpoint's estimation, grabbing 25% of shipments in 2026. Kinda stunning, since the first foldable iPhone is only expected to have 2 to 3 months on the market in 2026. My guess is that speaks to a relatively small number of foldables being shipped currently, combined with Apple's power to move markets. Referring to this year as a new phase for the foldable smartphone market, Counterpoint Research Associate Director Liz Lee is quoted in the release saying Apple's entry is expected to lift overall consumer awareness and raise the benchmark for premium foldables, but Samsung still has a clear advantage in product maturity, channel reach, and foldable user experience. The predicted decline in PC shipments finally hit last quarter, so says our third post from Counterpoint Research. According to that, global PC shipments shrank 4% last quarter versus the same quarter a year ago, marking the first contraction in over a year. Again, not to insult you, rising component costs were the culprit, particularly costs for memory. While consumer refresh cycles tied to Windows migration and AI PC adoption continue to support demand, Counterpoint says surging memory prices and higher component costs are increasingly constraining OEM production plans and suppressing consumer demand. Only 2 producers saw shipments grow last quarter, with ASUS shipments up 4% and shipments for Apple's Mac up 13%. What did it for the Cupertino company? Something small and mighty, with a mighty small price tag. At least when it came out. Apple's successful launch of Neo helped the brand show enormous growth in the second quarter, according to Counterpoint. As for what's ahead, the firm expects the same shift toward premiumization for computers that such firms have expected for smartphones. Counterpoint Associate Director David Naranjo says the market will shift toward premium AI PCs since their better performance and on-device AI features make higher prices easier to accept. Do they? Remember when using Apple Maps for directions felt like something of a crapshoot? My, how times have changed. Apple issued a press release Thursday announcing a partnership with car maker Ford. The deal will see Apple Maps integrated directly into Ford's upcoming Universal Electric Vehicle, or UEV, platform. The release says the integration will offer drivers turn-by-turn directions using natural language, real-time traffic and incident information, intuitive search featuring detailed place cards, and routing options to help users easily find the best route to their destination. Apple Maps hits Ford's UEV platform in 2027. The company says folding Apple Maps into Ford is an addition to CarPlay availability. Ford will continue to offer Apple's in-car infotainment system, according to the release. Have you ever thought, gee, I wish the Apple Store app had an AI layer? Well, we're apparently getting one anyway. Mac Rumors spotted a change in the app's privacy policy related to an as-yet unrealized virtual shopping assistant. According to the report, the app will have a chat interface where users can ask questions about Apple products, with Apple using data like account information, device identifiers, chat information, carrier information, and location data to offer a personalized experience. Good, bad, somewhere in between. There's something for everybody here. On the bad side, depending on how you feel about such things, Apple is partnering with someone on the chatbot, not making it itself. Messing with Mr. In-Between, Mac Rumor says transcripts of the chats are safe for later reference. While users may not be overly happy about chats being immortalized, virtual memory could make future interactions more convenient, hence the in-betweenness. On the good side, Apple says personal identifiers are stripped from the chats before they're shared with partners. The virtual shopping assistant interface is not live in the Apple Store app yet, according to Mac Rumors. The site does say, though, it's possible that Apple is testing the feature with some users. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, Copilot Money. Your money beautifully organized. Our phones hold so much stuff. Photos we take and forget about. Apps we download and forget about. Charges and subscriptions we initiate and forget about. Between credit cards and smartphones, charges and payments are so easy, they're easy to lose track of. To help keep track, there's Copilot Money. It lets you track money coming in, money going out, where you stand on financial goals, and how your investments are performing, all in one beautiful interface. Copilot Money has apps for iPhone, iPad, and the Mac, as well as a great web experience, all synced in real time and all with a focus on privacy. Plus help from real people when you need it. From managing the money you have to planning, tracking, and staying motivated on savings, Copilot Money is the window to your financial life. Right now you can get 2 months free with code MacOSKen at copilot.money/MacOSKen. Named Editor's Choice in Apple's App Store and featured by Apple as a smart way to save money, you can try it for no money, free for 2 months with offer code MacOSKen at copilot.money/MacOSKen. Copilot Money, your money beautifully organized. Try 2 months free with offer code MacOSKen at copilot.money/MacOSKen. Sad news from the technotainment world. Apple Insider says tech columnist, author, pundit, and podcast host John C. Dvorak has passed away. The piece says Dvorak is best known for co-hosting the No Agenda podcast with Adam Curry, though his credits do go back a lot further than that. He wrote for the most influential magazines and newspapers in the 1980s and 90s, according to Apple Insider, ranging from PC Magazine to the New York Times. ZDTV and Tech TV are sort of forgotten footnotes in tech and tech coverage, but Dvorak did have 1 or 2 shows there. I did not know him, though the time or two we met at Tech TV, he was very friendly and very knowledgeable. He was an early contributor to the CNET Central television series, according to Apple Insider, and hosted his own radio shows, including NPR's Technically Speaking. Survived by his wife Mimi, Dvorak died this past Monday. He was 80 years old. Apple's emergency SOS via satellite is now covering a couple more countries. A short post from Mac Rumors says the service is now available in Andorra and Iceland. Apple TV is taking an odd turn in programming. The streaming service issued a press release Thursday announcing The Last Person on Earth, an 8-episode dating documentary series. In the series, the release says, couples who appear to be opposites are expertly paired by a team of matchmakers and therapists before embarking on an adventure in one of the world's most romantic and remote destinations. The show is hosted by couples therapist and New York Times bestselling author Esther Perel. She's quoted in the release saying the show is a bold exploration of relationships that challenges everything we assume about compatibility, inviting people to drop the checklist and embrace dating as an adventure into the unknown. Unknown is when this thing will hit Apple TV. One of Apple TV's original flagship series is coming to an end. In another press release on Thursday, the Cupertino streamer said that Season 5 of the Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Aniston, Billy Crudup series, The Morning Show, will be that series' last. The first 4 seasons of The Morning Show are available to stream now on Apple TV. The 5th and final season hits the streamer sometime in 2027. And finally today, if you're looking for something new from Apple TV, The Dink has hit the streaming service today. According to the description, the movie's about a washed-up former tennis prodigy who now coaches kids at his dad's country club. When he can't even do that, thanks to an aggravated injury, rehab forces him into doing the unthinkable, playing pickleball. His father hates pickleball, and so does he, until he actually starts playing it. Ultimately, the description says the tennis player turned pickleballer is drawn into a desperate battle for the future of the club, his father's affection, and his very identity. It sounds like so many Ben Stiller movies. And yes, Ben Stiller is among the producers behind it. I must confess to surprise, though, seeing its score on Rotten Tomatoes. With 35 reviews in, currently sits at a decidedly fresh 86%. Of course, you can decide for yourself. The Dink is streaming now on Apple TV. macOSKen, brought to you by me and sponsored by Copilot Money. Get 2 months free with code MacOSKen at copilot.money/MacOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, MacOSKen at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macosken.com. Until next time, that is news from macOSKen. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.